Hello again, everyone. This is Vontos, and welcome to episode 18 of the series. I'm going to do things a little differently this time. I might go back to the old format in episode 19, but I do want to try some new things and see how they go. When I first agreed to do this series the way I have been doing it, Bob had a few other video series that he was posting in, and I wanted to give him a break. But he hasn't posted any other videos since we started this series, I don't think, and I've still been stuck doing 2 to 3 times as much work for every episode as he's doing, and I'm still only getting a fraction of the views. So I think it's time for me to just start doing my own thing. I only recorded 3 key battles for this episode, and will probably focus on only the important moments for the rest of the game. I kept forgetting what I was doing, and I think I missed the beginning of a couple of the battles, but it should turn out fine. At the end of the video, I'll still have a map and go look around the game and talk about some of our future plans. But for now, let's get into the first. This first battle is a defense of my throne city, which you can see on Bob's channel since he has a unit involved. He was able to get one of his Chthonic Guardians summoned next to my throne to help me defend. The game said this was a probable defeat. I don't know how accurate that is. It might not have been factoring in Bob's unit. I think those 3 Manticore Riders versus the 4 units I have would probably be a probable defeat for me. But Bob's tier 4 pikeman, I think, shifts it in our favor a little bit. With only 3 enemies out there, our plan is to get my my priests up onto the points of the wall, keep them defended. Bob's going to use his Guardian to sit behind one of them. I'm going to sit an Exalted behind the other one. And then my second Exalted is just going to kind of sit back and try to get a flank attack in if possible. My Exalteds do have Resurgence, so they will come back if they die. Bob's unit does not have Resurgence, and my priests don't have Resurgence. The priests are not very high level, so it's not a big deal if I lose them. Bob's unit would be tough to lose, but it's kind of a necessary loss in this case if it does end up dying. Not able to do a lot of damage to these Manticore Riders with my priests. I used Curse with one of them on the first turn. The second one couldn't reach them with a Curse. All that Curse did was slow one of the Manticore Riders down. Might have helped a little bit, maybe not. But other than that, I'm just going to bomb them with my priest's ranged attack, do as much damage as possible. Again, the Curse fails. It just slows them down a little bit, keeps them from getting over the wall and starting to attack our melee units. I thought about flying my Exalted over the wall to distract the Manticore Riders. The problem with that is, if I had flown straight up the middle, it wouldn't have distracted them at all. They would have just kept coming the same way they're already going. If I had flown my Exalted off to the side, then only one of my priests could have hit them. It really wouldn't have given us any of an advantage. Fortunately, they made a mistake by attacking the wall, which doesn't benefit them at all since they can just fly over it. That let down the guard of one of the Manticore Riders, lets me get some flank attacked in. And my final Exalted, my odds of killing that Manticore Rider are pretty close. Thinking about using a spell on him, a Smite or maybe a Black Lightning, to do a little bit of damage, increasing the odds of killing the Manticore Rider. In the end, I believe I cast a Slayer's Doubt on one of them. No, actually, I'm going to wait until the next round of the battle, when those other Manticore Riders let down their guard, and use Slayer's Doubt. On this round, I am going to go ahead and attack with my Exalted. Going to use Warcry and get 3 hits in. And I do get a critical hit, which was nice because it let me kill him and then use my killing momentum to get inside the wall and go on defense. Bit of good luck there, gets balanced out by a bit of bad luck later on in the battle. And you see he stunned me with his inflict stun ability. So my Exalted didn't have any chance. I don't know what his odds of inflicting stun were there, but with 4 or 5 hits with his units, it was probably a pretty good chance of that happening. But now they both have their back turned. That's going to give us a chance to get some more flank attacks in. Bob uses his defensive strike. Gets a flank hit in. Lets me use my priest. Get some flanks in. Flank hits in the other priest. Get some hits. And then I'm going to move my Exalted in the way again and just leave it on defense. Force them to have to kill me to get to my priest. Again, considered Smite, but those Manticore Riders have so much health that even if Smite succeeded, it wouldn't make a big difference. Slayer's Doubt lowers their physical attack damage and also lowers their movement. And there you see, took out my Exalted. It's not unexpected. Bob had a choice to make here. He could have gotten a flank hit in on the Manticore Rider. He could have gone and sat in between my priest and the Manticore Riders. I think what he does is probably the right move. He's going to just sit it behind the Manticore Riders and just leave it on guard. That way that even if the Manticore Riders do go after my priest, they will get hit by his Chthonic Guardian while they're moving that one tile away. And being on guard significantly lowers the odds of the Manticore Riders inflicting stun on his Guardian. I think it's at 30% normally, goes down to 10% when he's on guard. That's a really big difference. I'm going to keep firing away. Got a nice critical hit there. I think it only did 1 extra damage than it would have normally. Now that one Manticore Rider has low enough health that a Smite probably could have killed him, but I don't have enough casting points for Smite anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and do Slayer's Doubt on him as well. And there, exactly what we hoped would happen. Bob hit his Manticore Rider when it flew away, and it also was not able to kill my priest. So my priest now will be able to take a hit on the next turn. Bob didn't have any movement points left, so he just ended his turn. There's really not anything I can do with this priest. I just tried to curse the Manticore Rider. I think he's too far away for my ranged attack to hit him. Curse does nothing but give me experience there. Fortunately, they used a spell to kill my priest, so his Manticore Rider was able to go and hit Bob. But Bob's not stunned. He did a decent amount of damage in retaliation, so that worked out for us. Again, Bob's got a decision to make. He's going to stay on defense so that there's only a 10% chance of getting stunned rather than 35%. And on my turn, I'm just going to keep bombing away at the Manticore Rider, chip his health away a little. And here's where we get unlucky, because even with a 10% chance of inflicting stun, he gets it on the very first try. That's very unfortunate for us, because now Bob's not going to be able to do anything on his turn, and then on Brown's next turn, Bob's unit will not be able to go on guard, so it will be back to a 35% chance of having stun inflicted on him. I think without that little bit of bad luck, Bob's Guardian would have survived the battle. I believe here Bob is considering whether to try to dispel the inflicted stun. There's only a 50% chance of that, so he does go with a damage dealing spell on the Manticore Rider. Just as I say, to continue chipping his health away. In a way, I was probably a little lucky that Brown used his casting points to suffocate my priests rather than try to dispel that Slayer's out. Because at the end of this battle, there goes with the suffocate rather than dispelling. At the end of this battle, he's not able to get up to my priest because of his Slayer's Doubt. He can only move like 3 spaces. I would have been able to run away and keep shooting him if I had wanted. I need to suffocate on Bob because Bob did have first strike. Just attacking straight up with the Manticore Rider would have hurt him. He cannot reach me there, so he doesn't even try. I don't know why he didn't try. And at this point he's going to try, but his health's so low that I'm easily able to finish him off. So overall, the battle was okay. Got a little lucky, little unlucky. Most importantly, though, able to defend my throne city. Had that fallen, I might have had trouble getting it back. My main attacking army in that area is going after other cities at the moment. And as long as my throne is in enemy hands, I would have had to been extra cautious with my king's army, rather than running it around taking orange cities like I do. This next battle is a big open field battle that I didn't get the recording started in time to give proper context to it. Teal had these 2 stacks running into my land, and I couldn't tell which city they were going after, so I decided that just straight up attacking them was better than trying to figure out which city they're going to defend. There's a lot of evangelists in this enemy army, and they're going to cause some problems with conversions for me. I notice kind of towards the end of this battle that Teal has cast their Armageddon spell. That gives all my units and all Bob's units plus 80% spirit weakness. It also prevents either of our units from regenerating health. It's not at all a problem for Bob since his units are ghouls and don't regenerate health anyway. But for me, I'm going to have to make sure I have units with healing in every stack, just so all my units can heal in between battles. I'm going to start trying to disjunct the spell before too long. Hopefully I will succeed on the first try. If not, that's going to be a really big problem for us going forward. I rushed my Exalteds forward to get in the face of their machines, the Trebuchet and the Shrine of Smiting. There you can see they right away converted 2 of my units. The plus 80% spirit weakness makes conversions a lot easier for them. I believe Armageddon gives all of Teal's units strong will as well, which means I cannot convert any of them. Alright, I killed the first Evangelist, which brings me my Shock Trooper back. My Exalted's kind of got into a mess here with all these beetles. But since they do have Resurgence, I'm not really worried about what happens to them. probably should have ignored the beetles altogether and flown the Exalteds out to keep going after the Trebuchet and after the Shrine of Smiting. My priests do have break control, which is really nice going up against all these conversions. I believe break control works 100% of the time, unlike Dispel, which is only a 50% chance. There's really not a whole lot my Exalteds can do. They're mostly low level, so even if I had tried to run it away and go hit the Trebuchet, that beetle might have killed it. My priest is almost dead because the Shock Trooper went and hit it after he got converted, so I'm going to need to use my healing. Fortunately, I do have a lot of healing in my army, so dealing with Armageddon might not be that big a problem for me. There's not a whole lot I can do about that Shrine of Smiting at this point. I need to get my melee fighters up in its face. And a lot of my melee fighters were these Exalteds that have kind of gotten themselves trapped. Because of my spirit weakness, those Shrines of Smiting are doing a ton of damage with their Smiting Prayer Bolts. Any future battles that have multiple Shrines of Smiting in it are going to be something I'm concerned about. But I am at least able to get a Shock Trooper up in the Shrine's face. Fortunately, he immediately converts the Shock Trooper so the Shrine can just run by and use its prayer bolts to kill one of my priests. First going to try to kill the Evangelist and get the Shock Trooper back that way. But I can't do nearly enough damage to him. This is when I'm looking and seeing that the Evangelist is doing 15 to 22 spirit damage to my Evangelist, which should be immune to spirit damage. That's when I realized that he had the Armageddon spell cast. Very, very disappointing. There's my 80% weakness. But that's okay, I don't need to kill the Evangelist, even though I think I am still going to try. I do still have a break control or two on my priests. They can just break the conversion control. Get my Shock Trooper back that way. And there he is. Now I can go beat on the Shrine some more with it. Naturally, his beetle got a critical hit there, as if he needed any more luck. Here's something I need to look up. Do units with strong will become immune to fearsome ability? Because on my shock troopers I have fearsome, and I'm not sure if that's going to work against Teal's units right now. Didn't look... yeah, I don't think fearsome's working. Well, hopefully I'll get Armageddon dispelled and this won't be an issue. But it's really neutralizing all my units' best abilities right now. Well, the battle didn't go as well as I hoped because of this stupid Armageddon. But I did only lose... what did I lose there? 2 priests and an evangelist? Maybe it's just 1 priest and an evangelist. Nope, it's 2 priests and an evangelist. I kept my strongest units alive except for that evangelist. I think I've lost all my evangelists at this point. I lost most of them in that battle against the Warbreeds a few episodes ago. I am going to build another evangelist before this episode's over, but losing this one here is pretty disappointing. I was really counting on them to aid in my defense against Brown by converting some of Brown's units and using them to fight for me. But at least I did get this Teal army out of my land, and I did it in time to run back and defend Nipuk from that Brown army that's starting to invade again. Just gonna have to keep doing this until Bob and I are able to finish off Orange and get our main armies up to the front lines to start pushing back against Brown and Teal. And this final battle, I also didn't get the recording started early enough. It is a city battle for one of Orange's cities. I'm fighting it by myself without Bob, so you will not see this one on his channel. This city is right on the coast of the body of water that's straight south of Bob's land. I'm kind of working my army back towards the front lines, back towards the middle of the map. Going to take this city and maybe one more before I'm back up in a position to defend Engernost. I did use a smite there. My odds of smite working were pretty high. So I went ahead and used that. It did not kill the unit, unfortunately. I got a little bit unlucky there. And then he gets a critical success disjuncting my Thunderstorm, which is also unlucky. Mostly because now my Sorcerer, which cast the Thunderstorm, loses all his casting points for the battle. I was going to have him cast Chaos Rift right after Thunderstorm, but now he can't do that. He's just stuck in place back there for a couple more turns. But I still have much stronger armies. I have a good spell right there. Disintegrate causes instant death. I didn't see what my odds of success were there, but they must have been high enough that I thought it was worth using, and it did succeed. So I did instantly kill the cannon. And again, as long as my army leader is alive, all these units have resurgence. So I am free to just rush forward and get in the Juggernaut's face to try to take it out as quickly as possible. Since it is a halfling city, there are those dumb rabbits that keep injuring my units and causing them misfortune. I don't know what misfortune does. I think it probably lowers morale. But this army has a ton of morale, so that's not a huge deal. Got my 2 strongest melee fighters up in the Juggernaut's face. It's very good news. Should have used Wreck earlier on the Juggernaut. It might be dead by now if I'd done that. Now I'm just trying to decide which spell to use. Disintegrate, only a 55% chance. I think Smite's probably a better bet, but actually since he only has those 2 units left... Okay. What I decided to do with his hero, apparently. I used Black Lightning to try to try to give him Broken Spirit. The Broken Spirit would have lowered his resistance, and then I could have tried to run up one of my 2 Theocrat heroes and convert him. I end up just killing him instead of going for the conversion. Since those 2 units are the only ones that are really through the wall at this point, I really don't want to mess around and leave the Juggernaut alive and risk him tearing the rest of my army apart, so I do want to end this battle as quickly as possible. I'm not going to get the hero, but I will at least get all of his items at the end of the battle. Ram does not kill my Shock Trooper, so I am able to finish off the Juggernaut with my Exalted. Alright, there you see where the city is that I captured. The plan was for Bob to send an army with to help me, but my units move faster than his, and I knew I could take the city by myself, so I just went ahead and did it rather than wait until next turn. I will talk more about this at the end of the video, but now my army could move west and go get that other orange city, or it could go across the water to help Bob defend Muldan. That's something he and I need to decide before the next time we play. Okay, now I want to take a look around the map at a few things. Since I didn't record all of this live, I do want to show a few things and talk a little bit. Here's that last city that I took, that you saw the battle. This army right here, I have a decision to make. I'm most likely going to keep sending it after this city here. When the AI took over for Bob, they did move some of his units, but he does have a full stack of units here that can come with me to help take the city if needed. And then once I'm here, well, hopefully Brown's leader will be in the city and we'll take him out there. Otherwise, I can either push west into Brown's land here, or I can go north to help defend or recapture Angrenost if needed. The other thing I thought of is this army here has some decent units in it, but it's just a small army. Teal has a massive army right in here. There's 5 or 6 Shrines of Smiting, plus several tier 3 units. I think overall the total army is probably 15 to 20 units. I'm assuming, excuse me, I'm assuming they're going to keep pushing this direction towards Angrenost. So I will need to retreat this army and just surrender Angrenost. Bob has an army that the AI has already started to retreat. We can either pull back to help defend Muldan from the invasion that's likely going to come. The other thought I had is my other Theocrat hero has Divine Justicars now. So if he's leading an army, he will give all the units in it Resurgence. I could send this army down, kind of meet down here, link it up with my Theocrat, and just have 2 5-unit armies, and all 10 of those units will have Resurgence. And then I'd be able to do a lot of stuff with that. I could probably push on Brown by myself, even without Bob's help. But the big concern is once Angrenost falls, there's really nothing stopping them from going into Bob's land. He's going to be dealing with the same kinds of things I've been dealing with for the last 10 or 15 turns, with just lots of enemy units going into his land. Unfortunately, unlike me, his land is not easy to defend. It's got this big wide open channel that units can come through. If he tries to defend Muldan, the units could just go straight by and go right after his throne, and there's not a whole lot Bob can do about that. He and I would have to just meet the Teal and or Brown units out in the open field and try to take them out that way, and that could get really messy. So keeping Angrenost is the best option. I just don't think it's a possibility. The only question is where to retreat our units. Retreat them down and kind of link them up with all our units that we have down here, or retreat them back and try to defend Bob's main cities. The thing is, even if we kind of surrendered these cities, Bob could capture all of Orange's land and still keep income and unit production going. He would not have his throne, so if his king died, he would lose the game. That would be a really huge risk. But I don't think it would be the end of the world if we had to just surrender these 2 cities and go back and get them later. One other possibility, I do have this army here that to recapture Illinois, hopefully. After they recapture Illinois, or maybe even before, they could just ignore Illinois and go down and get Anthoria back. If I do that, it might get Teal to pull their units back and help recapture Anthoria, rather than pushing on towards Bob. I think that's probably the weakest plan of all the plans, but it's the only one that really gives us a chance of saving Angrenost. Otherwise, we're just going to be surrendering Angrenost without a fight. I'm seeing now that I'm producing a Shrine of Smiting in 2 turns, so if we just surrendered the city, I'd be giving that up too. Well, that's something else to think about. Hopefully I'll be able to get this video uploaded and Bob will be able to watch it and think about that with me. Up here, Nipuk is still really well defended. I've got 11 units, plus I'm about to create a priest. I've tried to spread my priests out with my Exalteds. You might have noticed that in the second battle I showed, I believe, maybe the first, I had all my Exalteds in one army. I'm trying to spread them out now, partially so they don't get cut off and destroyed, partially because they're not regenerating health, and I do need to get some support units into their stack to help heal them. But this city's not under any kind of a threat. There's a few tough units coming in, but I've dealt with much bigger armies than this with no problem. I should be able to handle that. Teal's got a few units up here, but I'm not worried about those yet. I still have this army right here, and I am producing more Exalteds. I was thinking maybe I should start making a few more Shock Troopers just because of their fearsome ability is really nice, but I'm not sure whether fearsome, actually I can look that up. I think fearsome checks against spirit resistance. So all of Teal's units with their strong will would not be affected by fearsome. Anything else? I've got my ships. They healed a little bit. Unfortunately, there is no water connection, or not an easy water connection to this lake down here. Otherwise I could send them here and protect our units going back and forth across this water. I think these ships are pretty much useless at this point. I'll probably just hang them around Bob's Island City to help protect that from Shrines of Smiting or Manticore Riders or something. My land feels pretty secure above ground, other than Angrenost, which really is a big problem. Looking below ground now, Bob did lose the city that he just recaptured. I don't remember if that happened while we were playing, or if that was something that happened after I loaded the save just now. Bob's got some units. That city should be pretty well defended. Teal has a unit here sitting next to my Naga. Bob mentioned while he was playing that you should make some archers to help defend this city. I don't think Teal is interested in capturing cities. He's just going to sit next to the city, make it rebellious, generate some rebels, and force me to lose the city that way. He was doing this with this city over here for a while before I drove him away. I think when I start playing again, I'm I'm going to go ahead and do a hasty plunder. That should get the city plundered before the rebellion happens. I will lose the city, but I will get that 60 gold and 120 mana, both of which would be nice right now. I guess I could also release them as a vassal. My alignment's plenty evil that that could work. You know what, I think I will go ahead and do that and release them as a vassal. The dragons gave me another quest that I'm going to go do with this army. That quest, I do have to kill a Dread Reaper for it, but that will cause the dragon vassal, as well as giving me 2 more wyverns. So I think it's worth risking fighting a Dread Reaper for that. And here is the current map. It's kind of patchy in the middle of our land here. Hopefully I'll be able to take Thorsbud. Even if we lose Engernos, that'll give me some income generation here. It might also cause Teal to think about whether they want to come down after Thorsbud or whether they want to go this way. If Bob and I get some land down here, it might draw some of the attention away from our core lands and towards this area here, where we have our strongest armies. Unfortunately, our kings are both in our strongest armies, and our thrones are both in really vulnerable spots. We don't have enough units to defend our thrones. If the enemies want to make a strong push after our thrones, they could get them. They just haven't put together a big enough army to go do that yet. So since our thrones are so vulnerable, we do need to be a little bit careful with our kings. As long as we keep them together, I think they'll be safe. There's not really any enemy army that's big or strong enough to take out our combined king stacks. But right now they are separated, so it is kind of a vulnerable spot. I think it's worth the risk to try to take out Orange's leader. I just wish I knew where he was. I suspect he's underground. Bob's gonna probably have to take all 3 of these cities and then go through this cave entrance here and find Orange's leader down here somewhere. But at least it'll get Bob a bunch of cities. That'll help out if he loses his 2 core cities here. Well, thank you for watching this new format for episode 18. Let me know what was good or bad about it. I don't know what I'm going to do for episode 19 yet, so I guess we will find out that together. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't and watch the earlier episodes in the series. I've linked to Bob's channel in the description. Go check his out. He will have the full episode at 18 up on his channel. Thank you again, and I will see you next